President Biden has called the Israelis not to move onto Rafah. The whole world is calling Israel not to move onto Rafah. I think enough is enough. And I will join Vice President Harris' call for a ceasefire now. The whole of the Gaza Strip is infeminine and it is unspeakable. And this has not been caused by a natural disaster or a disease. This is the doing of the State of Israel in complete violation of international law.
Is Israel, to your mind, weaponizing aid and intentionally starving Gazans, specifically in the north?
Yes, I think that is what is happening. And that is what, not only me saying that, but the whole international community and UN agencies are really witnessing a deliberate policy of starvation and siege on the people of Gaza.
Kamala Harris has called for a ceasefire, albeit temporary.
There must be an immediate ceasefire for at least the next 6 weeks.
How much pressure do you think America still can bring to bear on the Israelis at this point?
In the 1990s, and due in no small part to the courage and wisdom of the then Secretary of State, James Baker, the United States convened an international conference that would eventually lead to a historic agreements between Israel and the Palestinians. I think the United States has the capacity to do exactly the same nowadays.
Let's talk about the potential for a peace conference that you are calling for, including having Hamas at the table. Realistically, with this current Israeli government, the country's most far-right ever, do you see them agreeing to that?
The purpose of the conference will be to translate the will of the international community for a two-state solution into action.
And the Taoiseach and I agree about the urgent need to increase humanitarian aid in Gaza and get the ceasefire deal. Get a ceasefire deal that brings the hostages home and move toward a two-state solution, which is the only path for lasting peace and security.
Whether today or tomorrow, the whole world has said again and again, there is no other way to have sustainable peace in the long term except the establishment of a two-state solution.
Do you support Senator Chuck Schumer's contention that Israel now needs elections?
The Netanyahu coalition no longer fits the needs of Israel after October 7th. And I believe that holding a new election, once the war starts to wind down, would give Israelis an opportunity to express their vision for the post-war future.
That is for the Israeli people to determine. All I am saying is that sooner or later, I think wisdom should prevail, the common sense should prevail for peace for everybody in the region, not just between Israel and its immediate neighbors, but for the whole region.
CNN has reported that US officials held indirect talks with Iranian officials in Oman in January. This amid rising tensions around this region of the Gulf, in the Red Sea and the wider Middle East, marking the first engagement between the US and Iran for quite some time. What more can you tell us about those indirect talks? What came out of them?
We need to get people to talk with each other, and everyone has to be involved. Iran is part of the region, and I think engaging with all the regional countries is a very important element, a prerequisite for de-escalation and for bringing a common goal of peace for the whole world. This is why I also said that both Israel and Hamas should be part of the solution.
The Houthis are creating havoc in the seas around this region. They have said that they will stop when there is a ceasefire in Gaza. Do you believe that? There are many who say that the Houthis are simply taking advantage of this, using the cover of Gaza to really up the ante in these waters around the Gulf. And have you been in touch with the Houthis and or spoken to Iran about their intentions going forward?
Yes, I believe there is a very strong connection. In fact, it's the only connection between what's going on the Red Sea and what's going on in Gaza. If we stop the war in Gaza, we will de-escalate tension everywhere. I believe the freedom of navigation, which is something we all call for, will be resumed.
As somebody who supports the people of Gaza and calls for a ceasefire, does that by implication suggest that you are supporting the Houthis' actions? I mean, they are deadly.
We are a country of peace. We call for peace everywhere. And we cannot simply expect the continuation of these atrocities in Gaza to continue and witness it without lifting a finger on Israel. So I think that is where really the solution begins.
I did, with respect, ask whether you support the actions of the Iran-backed Houthi movement.
We don't support violence. We don't support the disruption of people's lives everywhere. But we have to understand the causes and the reasons and try and address them at the roots of the problem in order to really have a sustainable solution.
And that is the first interview that the Oman foreign minister has done with international media since October the 7th. And I want to be quite clear here. Muscat has for years played a key role in mediating efforts to end conflicts around this region. So to hear the views there of the Oman foreign minister is extremely important as we continue to press for news and solutions on what is a conflicted region.